It is Wednesday, January 24, 2026. And I have to be honest with you, I had a very weird moment this morning. I opened Google Maps to check traffic, scrolled down a bit to look at the coast, and I saw a label that made me think my app was, glitching.
Let me guess. You were looking for the Gulf of Mexico.
I was, except it didn't say Gulf of Mexico, it said Gulf of America.
Yeah, that is not a glitch. That is Executive Order 14172 in action.
Wow.
And honestly, if you think that's jarring, you probably haven't looked at the headlines coming out of Copenhagen or Nuuk in the last day.
It really feels like we've stepped into some kind of satire timeline, doesn't it? I mean, just yesterday, President Trump stood before Congress and declared effectively that the United States is going to acquire Greenland. And he didn't say please, he said, quote, one way or another.
It is surreal. It's one of those moments where the history books are going to have a hard time really explaining the mood.
Right.
But while it feels sudden, this is actually the logical conclusion of everything we've been tracking for the last year.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the buzzword that is absolutely dominating 2026, the Donroe Doctrine. We're going to figure out what it actually means, why the U.S. government is suddenly treating the Western Hemisphere like a foreclosure auction, and, why thousands of people in the Arctic are wearing red hats that say, "Make America go away."
Which we have to admit is a branding masterstroke by the protesters.
It really is. But before we get to the protests, we have to ground this. The Donroe Doctrine. It sounds like something a late-night host made up.
Yeah.
Where did this actually start? Because it wasn't in the State Department handbook a year ago.
No, it wasn't. And funny you say that, because it arguably did start as a joke.
Oh, really?
Or at least a tabloid provocation. If you rewind your mental tape to January 8, 2025, just over a year ago, the New York Post ran this cover that became an instant meme.
I remember this. It was the map.
The map, exactly, titled The Donroe Doctrine. And it was aggressive. It showed Canada crossed out and labeled 51st state. It had the Panama Canal labeled Panamaga.
Right.
And it had Greenland just stamped with two words, our land.
And at the time, I think most of us just chuckled and scrolled past. It felt like the Post just trying to stir the pot.
Exactly. It seemed like hyperbole. But then you fast forward to January 3rd of this year.
Right.
We had Operation Absolute Resolve, that massive raid in Venezuela where U.S. forces captured Nicolas Maduro.
Right.
In the press conference afterward, the State Department didn't just justify it. They tweeted, and I quote, "This is our hemisphere."
Wow.
And then Trump himself explicitly referenced the Donroe Doctrine. He took the tabloid headline and made it official foreign policy.
So he didn't invent the name, but he bought the trademark.
He is definitely wearing the jersey.
Okay, but for the listener who hasn't opened a history textbook since 11th grade, and I'm including myself in this, we know Donroe is a riff on Monroe. Can you give us the 30-second refresher on the original Monroe Doctrine?
Sure. So 1823. President James Monroe basically puts up a do not enter sign around the Americas. He tells the European superpowers, Spain, Britain, France, that the Western Hemisphere is closed for colonization. You mess with South America, you mess with the United States.
So it was a keep-out sign. It was defensive.
Right. But, and this is the crucial distinction, Monroe was about protection. It was, in theory, about keeping European empires away from newly independent nations. The Donroe version, what some are calling the Trump corollary, it flips that.
Flips it, how?
It shifts from protection to predominance.
Explain that, because predominance sounds a lot more active.
Oh, it is. It's no longer you can't have it. It's this is ours. It implies the United States is the landlord of the Western Hemisphere and everyone else is just renting space.
And the landlord just decided to raise the rent.
Or evict the tenants entirely. We're seeing it everywhere. We mentioned the Venezuela raid, but look at Colombia. Trump publicly called President Petro a drug dealer, slashed aid. Look at the tension with Canada, the tariffs, all the rhetoric about Trudeau being weak. It's a coordinated effort.
It feels incredibly aggressive.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the tenant currently getting the loudest eviction notice. Greenland. This is the flashpoint happening right now. We went from maybe we should buy it a few years ago to we are taking it. What triggered this sudden escalation?
It's been a really rapid-fire sequence just since December.
Okay.
First, Trump appointed Jeff Landry as the special envoy to Greenland.
Which is a bold move for a territory that, I mean, Denmark handles their foreign policy, right? They didn't ask for an envoy.
Exactly. But Landry just ignored Copenhagen. He immediately said his goal was to make Greenland American.
Wow.
Then things got visual. Steve Miller's wife tweeted a map of Greenland draped in a U.S. flag.
Wow, I saw this.
With just one word, soon.
That feels less like diplomacy and more like a movie villain threat.
It was perceived that way in Nuuk, believe me. And then yesterday, January 20th, Trump makes the address to Congress. He says, quote, "We need it really for international world security. We're going to get it."
And the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, she added that the military is always an option.
That's the implication, a military option.
Against a NATO ally.
That comment was the match in the powder keg. Because this past weekend, Greenland didn't just, issue a press release. They took to the streets.
I saw some of the footage. It looked massive.
The scale is historic. We're talking Saturday, January 17th. In Nuuk, the capital, there were 5,000 people marching.
Okay, so I know what some listeners might be thinking. 5,000 people. That's a slow Tuesday in Times Square.
You have to contextualize it, though. Nuuk is a small city. Its population is about 19,000 people.
Oh.
So that's more than 25% of the entire city's population in the streets. Imagine a quarter of New York City, 2 million people marching down Fifth Avenue.
That really paints a picture. It's practically the whole town. And it wasn't just Nuuk, right?
No, Copenhagen saw 20,000 people. And the visuals were just striking. We mentioned the hats earlier. Make America go away. But did you see the ones that said, "New det in UK"?
I did. But I'll admit my Danish was non-existent. I felt like I was missing the inside joke.
It's brilliant wordplay. There's a common Danish phrase, "Nu det nok," which means enough is enough. They swapped knock for nuke. So it's like, now it's nuke, or nuke is enough.
That is fantastic. I love a good protest pun. But, I mean, under the humor, the sentiment is deadly serious.
Incredibly serious. You had slogans like, "Yankee go home," "Greenland is not for sale." And the Prime Minister of Greenland, Mute Borup Ide, he gave a quote that I think really sums it all up.
What did he say?
He said, "We do not want to be Americans nor Danes. We are Kalalit."
Kalalit. That's the indigenous term.
Yes, it's the Greenlandic Inuit term for themselves. It's a declaration of identity, a reminder that they aren't a pawn on some chessboard.
Meanwhile, back in Washington, Representative Buddy Carter introduced a bill to rename the island Red, White, and Blue Land.
You can see the disconnect. It's almost painful. On one side, you have profound questions of indigenous sovereignty, and on the other side, rebranding.
It feels like two different realities just colliding. But I want to pivot to the why.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people look at this and think, is this just ego? Does Trump just like how Greenland looks on a map, or is there actually a strategic logic here? Why Greenland? Why now?
It's the billion-dollar question. And the answer is yes, there is an ego component. Trump has admitted he loves maps, thinks Greenland looks massive.
The Mercator projection strikes again, making the North look gigantic since 1569.
Exactly. On a flat map, it looks as big as Africa. In reality, it's closer to the size of Mexico.
Right.
But, and this is big, but we shouldn't dismiss this as just a geography error. There are 3 hard, cold, strategic reasons for this obsession.
Okay, lay them on me. Reason A.
Military geography. We already have the Foul Air Base, now called Patuxent Space Base.
Crucial for missile early warnings.
Right. But beyond that, there's something called the GIUK Gap.
The what gap? Sounds like a clothing store.
GIUK, Greenland, Iceland, UK. It's the naval choke point for the North Atlantic.
Oh.
If you want to stop Russian submarines from entering the Atlantic to threaten the U.S. East Coast, you have to stop them there.
So it's like a toll booth for submarines.
A toll booth with torpedoes. And Russia controls 24,000 kilometers of Arctic coastline. They are militarizing it heavily. If you control Greenland, you control the gate.
Okay, so it's a fortress, the wall of the North. What about reason B?
Shipping. The ice is melting.
Which is grim, but go on.
It's grim, but it's an economic reality the Pentagon is planning for. The Northwest Passage and the Northern Sea Route are opening up. And these routes shave about 5,000 kilometers off the trip between Europe and Asia compared to using the Suez Canal.
That's massive. That's like a week of travel time.
It is. It's billions in fuel savings. And the U.S. wants to control those checkpoints before China or Russia does.
But I have a feeling reason C is the big one. This isn't just about where ships go. It's about what's under the ice.
Precisely. This is the treasure hunt. Rare earth elements. REs.
We hear this term a lot, rare earths. But break this down. Why should I, or the listener driving to work right now, care about neodymium? It sounds like stuff from a sci-fi novel.
Because your modern life literally stops without them. Your phone, the screen, the battery, the vibration motor, all REEs.
Okay.
Do you drive an EV? The permanent magnets in the motor rely on neodymium. Wind turbines, they need tons of the stuff.
So it's basically the oil of the 21st century.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly for the president, modern warfare. Guidance systems for missiles, fighter jets, drones, they are just expensive paperweights without these minerals.
And right now, who controls the dealer?
China. China has a stranglehold on the global REE supply chain, both mining and, crucially, processing. They control something like 80 to 90% of the processing.
So if Xi Jinping decided tomorrow to cut off exports?
The U.S. tech sector and the defense industry would grind to a halt.
So Greenland is the backup plan.
It's better than a backup. Greenland holds some of the world's largest undeveloped deposits of these minerals.
So when Trump says economic security, he's not just talking about real estate.
No, he's talking about breaking China's monopoly. There are specific sites, like Grunfield, which has massive deposits. Another project, Kringlern, is huge. The U.S. looks at those and sees national survival.
It's the irony of ironies, isn't it? We might see an imperial land grab to secure the minerals needed for the green energy revolution.
It is a massive paradox. You need the minerals to save the climate, but you might start a war to get the minerals.
So we know the why. Let's talk about the how. Because you can't just walk into an ally's territory and say, mine, or can you?
Well, it depends on your negotiation style, and this is where the expert analysis gets really interesting. There's a distinction between integrative bargaining and distributive bargaining.
Okay, break that down for us without making it sound like a college lecture.
Think of it like a pizza. Integrative bargaining is the traditional diplomatic approach. It's growing the pie.
Win-win.
You look for win-win solutions. Hey, Denmark, we'll invest, create jobs. You get tax revenue, we get the ore.
Which is how allies usually talk.
Exactly. But Trump operates on distributive bargaining. That's zero-sum. There is a fixed pie, in this case, Greenland. If I get it, I win. If you keep it, I lose.
It's treating geopolitics like a hostile corporate takeover.
Yes. It's a transaction where he holds the military leverage, so he's demanding the asset. He views the alliance not as a partnership, but as a leverage point.
But this must be creating a massive crisis inside NATO. Denmark is a founding member. They've fought alongside U.S. troops.
It's catastrophic for trust. When the U.S. threatens to acquire territory from a NATO ally, potentially by force, it just breaks the fundamental agreement of the whole alliance.
It's like your roommate threatening to kick down your door and take your bedroom because he needs more storage space.
Exactly. And some analysts are suggesting this chaos might be intentional. If the West is fighting over Greenland, we aren't unified on Ukraine, we aren't unified on Taiwan, it serves Russian interests.
But the U.S. government isn't a monolith on this, is it? I saw something about pushback from the Senate.
That's a key point. The government is effectively split. We saw Senator Chris Coons lead a delegation to Copenhagen. They were basically doing damage control. They issued statements supporting Danish and Greenlandic sovereignty.
So you have the White House saying we're taking it, and the Senate saying we respect you.
It's a schizophrenic foreign policy, and for Denmark, it's terrifying. They don't know which America is going to show up tomorrow, the partner or the conqueror.
And then there's the money. What about the price?
Right. There is historical precedent. In 1946, President Truman actually offered Denmark $100 million in gold for Greenland.
Which, even adjusted for inflation,
Yeah.
is not a lot for an island that size.
Not really. But Trump's argument now is that Greenland is a liability for Denmark. He keeps citing this figure that it costs them $700 million a year in subsidies, claiming it hurts them very badly.
So his pitch is, let me take this burden off your hands.
While ignoring the trillions of dollars in mineral wealth we just discussed.
Right. I'll take this worthless rock off your hands. Don't worry about the gold mine underneath it.
Exactly. And Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, she's been very clear. She called the idea absurd a few years ago, and now she's reiterating, Greenland is not for sale.
But with the Donroe Doctrine.
The U.S. position is, we aren't asking.
It's incredible to watch. It feels like a clash of eras.
That's the best way to put it.
On one hand, you have this 19th century style imperialism, drawing lines on maps, buying people and land like it's a board game. On the other hand, a 21st century resource war for the specific atoms that run our computers.
And caught in the middle are the 57,000 people of Greenland who are shouting, we aren't a strategic asset, we are a people.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I can't stop thinking about those red hats in Copenhagen. Make America go away. It's funny, sure, but it's haunting.
It is, because it raises the ultimate question of this doctrine.
What's that?
If the United States decides that economic security, getting those minerals, is more important than national borders, what happens to the whole concept of sovereignty?
Right.
If Denmark, a close NATO ally, isn't safe from the Donroe Doctrine because they have something the U.S. wants, then who is?
Is it Canada next? Is it Australia?
That is the question keeping diplomats awake at night.
A sobering thought to leave you with. Who is safe when the map starts changing? Thanks for diving deep with us.
Stay curious.
And we'll see you next time.